and happy Wednesday. Happy hockey day. Every day is hockey day for us, and we're live for, why not? We're live for another week of NHL Chat Room right now on Sportsnet's YouTube and Facebook channels. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our shows. And last week was our best show ever, most viewed show, so we want to thank you all for coming back, continuing to deal with Steve and I. And as always, you're a part of the show, so get in the chat right now. Let us know where you're watching from. The most obscure places get a shout out, but don't lie, because we'll just use IP and see if you're real or not.
I like that you said it was our best show because of the viewership, whereas I thought
it was also our best show.
Well, it was our best show because it was the only hockey show that day that wasn't 8 hours long.
That's right.
That was the second day of the draft. That was brutal.
Luckily, the NHL draft just ended about an hour ago, so we'll be fine. Oh, that's so silly. Anyway, in all seriousness, we probably don't really have much to talk about this show. Like, nothing's really happened this past weekend, eh?
Never. No.
I think...
I got a bone to pick with Kyle Dubas, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, boy.
I do. I have a bone to pick with him. Why is he's hell-bent on breaking news after dinner. I want to know what's going to happen after the show. He's getting later every day. He announces the signing at 6, and then 7, and yesterday was 8. Knock it off, Kyle. You got to go to sleep.
Tonight will be 9, and then maybe he's on, like, Pacific time or something. I don't know.
No,
Kyle. We got I don't know. We got some shout-outs. I want to say hi to Aiden, watching from Barbados. Wow, jealous. Take me there. Oh, my goodness. Randy Lee, Colorado Springs, go Avs. Yeah, we like the Avs here. Fans of the show. Yetso97, Las Vegas. Ooh, why does everybody live in better places than us? It's not fair.
I like Oshawa. How dare you?
Do you? The dirty schwa.
Hey, Schwallywood. It's called Schwallywood now.
Oh, that's gross.
Why is Swash Mahal? You like that one?
You
laugh.
I don't like that.
Right, you laugh.
It's okay. My parents live in Sharon, Ontario, a small little hamlet north of Newmarket. So Sharon, shout out to Sharon and East Gwillimbury. If anyone ever goes up there, I'll tell you there's like one restaurant you can go to. So
that's okay. So the trivia. Like, anyone who's ever been on the GO train and seen East Gwillimbury on the line.
That's where I get off.
You're the one person.
I'm the one girl that walks off and, like, the train goes by and I'm like, I live here. And they're like, God forbid. Good luck, girl.
Good. That's so good.
Anyway, this isn't a geography show, so let's get into the 18 hours of content we have to get through. So buckle up, everybody. We got a lot. We got a lot to go through, and I got to keep Steve in line, or else the show will go till midnight, and Dubas will have announced 7 players.
Sorry, I need an adult.
You do. You need me to keep you in line. So the big fish headlines. We got to get into it. Somebody got a massive 7-year deal, $61 million with the Vegas Golden Knights, Pietrangelo, and I need to give Steve a shout out because he channeled his inner Bran. And he saw this way back in, I guess it was September, and he predicted this was going to happen. See the stamp there, September 18, 2020. We did not Photoshop this. Steve Dangle called this somehow. So first of all, how did you do that? Because you were right, and that's rare.
It is. It's, for some reason, okay, there's been a bit that's based in reality that the Leafs are in on everything, which anytime any player is made available, well, how could he be joining one of the most cap-strapped teams in professional sports? And then that became Vegas, who have been over the cap, I'm pretty sure, every summer of their existence.
Okay,
and
I need to get you for a second. We have breaking live news.
Actually?
Literally, Habs just signed Brendan Gallagher to 6 years, $6.5 million, like mid-sentence.
You're kidding.
So we're breaking this news live right now in NHL Chat Room. It just happened. Wow, scrap the show, everybody. Take
Kyle
the
Dubas said,
rundown down.
Kyle Dubas said, why so early?
Yeah, he's waiting for us. He's polite. So that's a real thing that just happened, everyone. Glad that we could bring that to you. Brendan Gallagher, 6 years, 6.5. Wow. We're going to talk about him later in the show, but we can bump that up. He was basically, conversations had stalled. It was looking like he wasn't going to become a member after the season. He was going to be a UFA and RFA. So glad that happened right during our show. Initial thoughts.
Well, so Marc Bergevin said something very odd, and that was that he was willing to make Brendan Gallagher the highest paid forward on the Montreal Canadiens. It's not typical that you would hear someone who needs to bargain with someone say, I'm going to make you the highest paid anything. But the bar wasn't that high. It's Jonathan Drouin and Josh Anderson tied at $5.5 million. But in saying that, Marc Bergevin, I think, sort of put the screws to Brendan Gallagher a little bit, because if he holds out, or if the conversation, drags on too long into the season, or if Brendan Gallagher has a bad season, all of a sudden fans can go, well, I mean, Marc Bergevin did say he would make him the highest paid forward. He was being greedy. What was he think? He thinks he deserves more than Josh Anderson. He has fewer points than Josh Anderson. Who does this guy think he is? Does he think he's Jonathan Drouin? Surely not. He has fewer points than Jonathan Drouin. Now he's guaranteed $1 million more than those guys for the foreseeable future after taking a very team-friendly deal, which is about to expire after this season. I got to say, with some of the deals that we've been seeing, the discounts, Brendan Gallagher did very well.
Yeah.
Good for him.
And the Canadiens were literally strapped. They had spent every single available dollar. If you went on Cap Friendly, it said dollars to spend zero, like my bank account. So I totally related to them there. But, this weekend was interesting. People were saying that they could have been the winners of free agency with Tyler Toffoli, Josh Anderson, Jake Allen, Joel Edmondson. But then there was this, this staple of what's going to happen with Brendan Gallagher. If he can't continue to be a member of the Montreal Canadiens, that's a big loss. So, they spent, I think it was $55 million this offseason on offense, which made me think that maybe they couldn't find a way to fit him in. But they found a way, and I'm a little bit surprised it's that much too.
Yeah, people I think got to get less focused on, dollars and term. Because I was saying money is fake. I was saying about the Canucks last summer because they had made some questionable deals, and I'm like, well, look at them on paper though. They're definitely better. I would have a hard time believing they're going to miss the playoffs, and then they end up going to the playoffs. People talk about how they got steamrolled by Vegas, even though the series went 7. They beat the Blues. They beat the St. Louis Blues. So I look at the Montreal Canadiens, and maybe the Gallagher contract's a little rich. Maybe the Anderson contract's a little rich. They're better. They're way better on paper than they were a week or two ago. And I got to say, they're building their identity. The death of teams in this league is when you can't properly identify what they are. Are they fast? Are they a defensive stalwart team? And it seems the Montreal Canadiens are building themselves to be a team that is super duper unfun to play against. Brendan Gallagher, Josh Anderson, Shea Weber's still there till the end of time. Have fun beating Carey Price each and every night. They're building themselves to be a team that's not fun to play against. And then they have this wave of youth coming too. I think Marc Bergevin's done a pretty good job.
And I think people were sleeping a little bit on the Montreal Canadiens, and now when you see what they've just been able to do in this weekend, it's giving them a lot of momentum, as you said. But it was interesting. I looked at the Stanley Cup odds, and they are still so far down the rankings, even after this weekend. And it was, how is this going to affect them? Clearly, some people, the odds makers, don't think too much. And then there's the conversation that they have the most expensive goalie tandem in the league right now, but they're a pretty good goaltending tandem, and that's kind of going to be the future of goaltending, I think. And if they're able to pull that off and make it work in the budget, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit optimistic about the Habs, and I want to get some comments here of our fans because they're seeing breaking live news on NHL Chatroom.
It's always right at the beginning, too.
Yeah, right. Just scrap the rest of the show. Sorry, producer. Robert goes, at least one of Steve's shows catches breaking news. Yeah, we agree, Robert. We got to see it live in person. We can just keep this as a memory forever. Lucy says, with all these moves, I feel Montreal is going to make the playoffs next season. I would have to agree with you, Lucy. I don't think I would have agreed with you, last Thursday, but I'm impressed of what they've done over the last couple of days. And then last comment here, Randy Lee, Habs got much better, but that Anderson deal is rough. So that is one reoccurring conversation that, how is that one going to work out? We'll have to see down the road. You look like you have something to say, Steve.
Have you ever met George Russick?
No, I haven't.
He does a lot of radio on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I had the opportunity to do some radio with him last summer. He goes, a six-year extension worth an average annual value of $6.5 million for Brendan Gallagher is not smart, ... In fact, it's stupid. # go Habs go. George, I've always known to be a little opinionated.
It seems like it. Here's we got. Look at this guy. He looks so intense to play against. It actually, when you need a player like this that has just got that kind of Marchand but not as bad. I would not want to play against Montreal Canadiens strictly because he's a little rat in the most respectful way I can use that term. As a player, I know teams that have those players. I was never one of them. And it's just you just dread playing the Canadiens. And I think now they're, as you said, continuing that momentum and that identity. And no one's going to want to play them. And we're going to have to see that a lot here in the conference that we basically cover and see. So it'll be interesting to see how this identity develops throughout the rest of the off season and what other moves they have to make. But I'm glad that we got to share that with everybody live in action.
For the Marchand comparison, I mean, Marchand tries to be sneaky. There's no sneakiness about Brendan Gallagher. He's not subtle. He'll just start gnawing on your esophagus. He is a rabid, wild animal. He is a wild animal, Ailish Forfar.
I think that sentence has never been said in the history.
I worked at the zoo. Right. That's where it comes from.
Which animal was gnawing on someone's esophagus?
Big cats. Big cats tend to go for the neck. They like to go for the neck. You learn something new every day.
We need to move on because I'm gonna have nightmares about someone gnawing on my esophagus. So we were talking about Pietrangelo signing his big deal. I mean, we could kind of continue that conversation just to circle back, but I think it's a long contract for an older guy, but my initial take was the Vegas Golden Knights have been so close for their entire existence that if you're going to go all in, you need to go all in right now. Put your cards on the table. It's a Vegas joke. So why would you not? But I think by the time that his deal is done, they'll be irrelevant. So I'm kind of go all in right now for the next year or two. And then we'll deal with the consequences down the road. But does that even make sense to you? You don't agree?
It does. No, I'm so distracted, Ailish. Can we all stop pretending to enjoy those jerseys? They suck. They're so bad.
They're disgusting.
Oh, God.
Oh, I'd rather have my esophagus gnawed on.
Crossing guards should wear that. If you have to work past a certain time, the reflective material, you'll never miss them.
Honestly, that looks like Dijon mustard, mixed with glitter. Someone just that show Art Attack? It looks like that guy just I love that show. Art Attack. It looks like something a kid made in a craft lab.
He's gonna drop the puck at their home opener, and it's gonna be a glitter bomb, and that's gonna be then a camera is above center ice, and that's his Art Attack episode for the day. It delays the game by half an hour, but that's a short ceremony compared to what the Montreal Canadiens do. I like it.
Okay.
Where are we going with
talking about the deal he signed? It's a lot of money, but what's money, eh? Vegas is rich.
It's a super weird deal. It's good for Pietrangelo because he got what he wanted. He got what every player wants, which isn't just the money, it's the money up front, right? So he gets a lot of signing bonuses in there. He's got the no movement clause, and also the only year of his deal with no signing bonus is the final one, which is just 8.8 in base when he's 37, which is as good a no trade clause as an actual no trade clause. He just checks off.
Will he still be playing when he's 37, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I made
always in the Norris conversation, right? So you're adding someone that's at least got 4 good years, where he's going to be in that conversation. And then by that point, if Vegas hasn't won a cup, God, I would be surprised, right?
Yeah. you can go somewhere else.
We got a comment from Ash. I think the money is right. The timeline is wrong. Yeah, that's kind of what we're saying too. They're definitely the favorite with the Avs right now to come out of the West. They're going to be one of the most fun teams to watch continuously. I think it's too bad they had to part with Nate Schmidt, and that was a really sad story. He was blindsided, and the poor guy was pretty upset about it. I mean, the Canucks won that big time, but I was surprised they want to keep Marc-Andre Fleury with Leonard and then get rid of Nate Schmidt. But we're not going to know if it was the right price to pay, really. But they,
Well, on the note of that, too many people, especially on Twitter for the hockey conversations, they just go, well, the GM said they're keeping Marc-Andre Fleury. Because, as we all know, no GM has ever lied. Things can change. He could be traded tomorrow. He could be traded in a month. He could be traded mid-season. Do we all think they're going to go forward with what would it be, a $12 million goalie tandem in Vegas? I don't think so.
We'll have to see. Joe says, thank God the Leafs didn't get Petro. 8.8 for a 37-year-old is going to hurt something fierce.
I still think it's free agency. You have to overpay. The Leafs had to pay $11 million for Tavares. You know why? Because teams were offering him 13. Can you imagine if the San Jose Sharks had actually signed him to that deal? Imagine the attention he would have got making more than Connor McDavid. Now all of a sudden his numbers are scrutinized versus McDavid's. Whereas now constantly comparing them to the Islanders and their success and everything, but it's a little different being compared to basically a perennial MVP candidate. You got to pay more. Sometimes it's with the AAV, sometimes it's with the term, sometimes it's with both. Any team out there was going to be offering Petro at least 5. So 7's not shocking to me, although it is a little rich.
Well, you did mention the Leafs, and we talked about the cap, and I think it's, kind of just the next important conversation to have here is even though there was a tighter cap and even though there was discussions of the Leafs aren't going to be able to make much happen, they still made a plenty amount of moves this weekend. Rouge Hill represent. Wayne Simmons is a Leaf.
Who?
Wayne Simmons. I made sure it's written in bold on my computer everywhere, Wayne Simmons, just so you know. I'm going to get it tattooed on my hand, but how are we feeling, Steve? I know you have a personal feeling towards this one.
Well, I know the neighborhood I grew up in is just ecstatic, and we're all getting fined for tampering because all of Rouge Hill and Scarborough has been campaigning to get Wayne Simmons on the Leafs for years. I don't think it's a coincidence that he takes a 1 year. Woo! Everyone's talking about how he's finished. I don't know too many finished guys who can do that or that. Jesus. And he's had all this time off. This is exactly what they're looking for. Forget the goal pack. They want Wayne Simmons so that he can, let some people know he's there, for crying out loud. He'll probably play a second power play unit. He'll probably score, a few goals, but they got him there for his famous quote that he said, he can punch some people's head off. He changes the Leafs identity immediately. They already have a few tough guys. The team being too soft is maybe a narrative that's a little overblown, but they've definitely addressed it here in free agency with Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, he's got that grit and sandpaper everyone's calling for, right?
Rouge Hill tough. Man, that guy, he got into a fight with one of my best friends. He won. In a game of soccer, he broke another one of my friend's collarbones.
My goodness.
Oh, yeah. Joseph Howe, baby. They don't play around at Joseph Howe Middle School.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Do. Oh, it was part of growing up. Anytime there's snow on the ground, whatever game you're playing is tackle now. That's how it works.
We're not going to invite him to Shinny ever because you're going down clearly.
Well, yeah. You could put the worst player in the league out there, and I'd be like, I don't know. I might die.
Golden Knight 29. Maybe they won't lose to a Zamboni driver with Simmons.
Can I just tell you something? Well, okay, so there was an interesting note today in 31 Thoughts, which was 34 Thoughts. Zach Bogosian, who the Leafs got, 1 year, $1 million. Another guy who they'll be addressing their toughness issue with. Supposedly, Kyle Dubas was ready to meet with him. He was 12 hours away from meeting him. And what stopped the meeting in February was the Leafs lost to the Carolina Hurricanes.
I don't remember.
Airs. It's just what a night. But it's that night, Kyle Dubas, like everyone's talking about, a sudden change in philosophy. Sudden. It's been months in the making, and that night was the anvil that broke the camel's back, where he decided, absolutely not. I'm not helping this group at all. They're clearly not ready for the next step. Now he's had an offseason to address it. Bogosian's on board, Simmons is on board, et cetera, et cetera. They have a new identity.
Yeah, Cup champion Bogosian as well.
David Ayres should never pay for dinner ever again. Instead of joining the Leafs, who lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets, this guy got this experience right here. He got to join the Tampa Bay Lightning and win the Stanley Cup. Do we think he was the missing ingredient stopping the Leafs from winning the Cup? No. David Ayres should never pay for dinner ever again. Zach Bogosian should be buying every night.
All right. Well, you make the rules. Leafs also added TJ Brodie. I loved the adorable video that they posted of him playing at the Air Canada Center, as a kid. They bring kids out and he does a little shooting thing. It was kind of a PJ moment. That's so bad.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, I thought that was a really nice sentimental touch that they added. Obviously he can be a top D pairing with Morgan Rielly. How much has Toronto's blue line, increased in the last 5 days? Are they now a scary team to play against, or where are we at here?
Well, I think one way you become more difficult to play against, as Kyle Dubas always puts it, is you just got to get better. And so who's Morgan Rielly's best defense partner been in his time in Toronto? He had Phaneuf playing the right side, and a rather cooked Dion Phaneuf at that. He had a little bit of Nikita Zaitsev. He had a lot of bit of Ron Hainsey. He had a year of Cody Ceci, and he had about a month of Tyson Barrie. I think Ron Hainsey's far and away his best consistent defense partner, which should tell you, holy smokes, he needed a new defense partner. And if it's TJ Brodie, the team as a whole is improved automatically. Cody Ceci, I hate to pick on a guy who clearly seemed like he wanted to be a Leaf, but he just cannot do the things you're watching right now with TJ Brodie. He scored 1 goal this playoffs. It was going 5 miles wide of the net. It happened to hit someone. TJ Brodie, he meant to do that. Did you see what he meant to score?
Well, sometimes luck's on your side, okay? I've scored some pretty ugly goals, and I still count them, so.
What was the S at the end of goal?
Different league, okay?
Oh, okay.
I was once an All-Canadian, so I'll get the stats for you.
You wore this. This is a Forfar jersey, by the way.
Oh my God! Stop with this. No, why is this always ready? I don't need to see this. I hate you guys.
Look at that ball. That's so good.
Oh, look at me skating to the bench, try not to cry. All right, that's enough.
Stop being so bashful. You can even tell through the cage. You're like, oh, shucks.
Obviously, then it never happened again. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit sick. David says, Morgan Rielly finally has a worthy D partner. And then Amin says, haha, loving Ailish's dad's jokes. Ailish's dad jokes? Or is my dad in the chat? Because I'm a little worried he might be watching. I hope it's not that. If it's my dad jokes, then I appreciate it. If my dad is in the chat joking, I don't need that. Greg, get out.
Goes for Mike. Gary, get out. No Greg or Gary.
Oh, God. So the Leafs added too many people for us to really go into this. We could have a whole show about that. Quickly touch on, they keep adding these Harvard kids, and I'm getting a little bit annoyed because I'm waiting for someone to add a Dartmouth kid. So I can't really cheer for Harvard North without getting a little bit competitive. So hopefully some Dartmouth kids come up the pipeline and the Leafs can get them, because I swear now with Jimmy, they have 7 Harvard kids. So I'm just getting a little bit annoyed. I can't cheer for the Crimson. And quickly, are they going to get Jumbo Joe? 5 seconds.
Reporter Chris Johnson says yes, and I trust him. So, yes, Jumbo Joe.
Maybe it'll happen during the show. I've got my eyes glued.
Probably. I don't know. If the show goes to 8 or 9, maybe Dubas will announce it then.
He's watching. He's waiting. He said he'll wait till we log off, so that's really nice.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay,
no Kyles either.
Right. Yeah, we don't need that. So
Greg,
to
Kyles.
who?
Greg, no one.
Okay. Can we mute him? So let's talk about another Canadian team making headlines this weekend, but not for a good reason. Fire Benning was trending. Holy smokes, what's going on in Vancouver? Sorry to our Vancouver viewers, but what? Like, what's happening, guys?
At this point, who would you rather have, Vancouver Canucks fans? Well, no one. So the Tanev deal that he got in Calgary, a lot of the analytics guys that I follow hate it. They think he was propped up by Quinn Hughes. I would argue he probably helped out the rookie, but he's on the wrong side of 30, back half of his career, a lot of term, a lot of money. Goes to a divisional rival, which I imagine stings, but it's still a tough contract. Markstrom going to a divisional rival again stings, but no one seemed to oppose it too much when, oh, well, Demko is the heir apparent. He's going to be great. What confuses me is how this team is way up against the cap, and there's no way they're going to be able to add anybody. And on top of that, they've lost all their guys. How do they then go out and get Nate Schmidt? So, and also, they don't have enough money now. They have a little less than $2 million to bring back Jake Virtanen and Adam Gaudette, I believe. But you could pitch both those guys out the door and bring up some younger forwards and kept Troy Stecher, which easily would have helped alleviate the loss of Chris Tanev. And all of a sudden, now you got this nice little decor. You got Quinn Hughes, you got Nate Schmidt on the left-hand side. Troy Stecher automatically looks better on account of your left side rules, and he gets to play with good players no matter where he is in the lineup. I'm very confused by Jim Benning, who I like to call Bim Jennings, because he's a confusing man. There's no way they can be done, right? There's no way.
I certainly hope not. I mean, as you said, losing two players to a division rival is tough, but losing Troy Stecher was just by not qualifying him at $2.3 million, because I heard that they were trying to land Tyson Barrie, and then it was too late. So they tried to be like, oh, come back. Look, we want you now. And it's sad. Like, he's a hometown kid, is he not? He's from Vancouver area. And it's just, that was, I think, a slap in the face to Canucks fans. And then, Toffoli getting the 4-year deal with the Habs. It's just not looking good over there on the West Coast. We have a comment from Chahet. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. They got worse, plain and simple, while other Pacific teams got better. Well, that is plain and simple the fact. You could host this show.
Yeah.
But it's true.
The Barrie one, they learn nothing from watching the Leafs. Quinn Hughes is the top power play guy on that team forever and ever, amen. And Barrie struggled mightily on the Leafs because when he started his Leaf tenure, he was not the top power play guy. So they were going to bring him into what? He struggles at 5-on-5. He needs to be sheltered. I don't understand why he was the big fish there, other than he's a BC guy. Like, if he was some random dude from Utah, I don't know, I picked a place at random, you probably wouldn't. I don't know why I picked Utah. Some other place with mountains. You wouldn't be considering this guy. So I don't mind too much of what they've done so far, but their thinking behind a lot of it has been odd.
Suspect.
Yeah.
Very suspect. And, to get into our next topic, they did sign Holtby, which, he's good. He's not at his best, but it's not a horrible acquisition. And he was one of many, many, many goalies that we call it musical chairs. It was just like, they all went around to different teams.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Good.
I haven't played. I'm not.
Actually,
your son's probably played musical chairs by this point.
He has. I have just so many Treehouse songs stuck in my head. On the note of Braden Holtby, the Vancouver Canucks have had a bit of a messy offseason. I actually really like that number. I did a video for the Sportsnet YouTube channel talking about the top 10 free agents this summer. A lot of them are still available. And I thought someone was going to give Holtby a ridiculous term. I thought he was going to get over $6 million. To lock him in for 2 years, 4.3. That's tidy work, in my opinion.
You think it was better than Calgary snagging Markstrom? Because I think that was, the big fish of the weekend, a 6-year, $36 million deal. I mean, it's going to give them some stability. I don't think he's going to be stellar for 6 years, but that's something they can just bank on and be like, all right, we've got our starter, someone that clearly has had some success and had a breakthrough, basically, that landed that giant contract. So I think that was the big fish of the weekend that started the carousel of musical chairs.
You're right. The fact Markstrom went to Calgary, again, sucks. It's got to hurt for Canucks fans, but you also got to remember it's a business. And if you're the Aquilinis with Vancouver, you go, where can we save a little money here? And, you have Thatcher Demko, you have Mikey DiPietro coming up in the system, and you kind of go, all right, what's the point of drafting well at this position if we're not going to kind of reap the rewards of it? So Thatcher Demko is going to be sort of their platoon guy. Really like the Holtby deal. It's not too rich. It's not too long. And that'll hopefully transition him into being a full-time NHL starter. By then, maybe Mikey DiPietro comes in. He's the full-time backup. I don't mind the thinking there. To me, the greatest sin the Canucks committed was they didn't try to, they didn't do enough to pitch the dead weight off of their team. I tweeted Louis Eric Senator and Brandon Senator. Like, they got to find a way. I know, they're both awful. They got to find a way to ditch the Louis Eriksson contract and Brandon Sutter, and I think they should be calling Ottawa every day asking what it'll cost. Because they're still like $6 million shy of the floor.
Yeah, Ottawa now probably has 13 draft picks still waiting to be used as well. They're just stacking draft picks for the next 10 years.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Other goalies we want to talk about. Dobby staying in Dallas. That was exciting. A well-earned contract, after he basically put the team on his back after Ben Bishop was injured and basically almost won them the cup. Almost. So close. But the fact that he, earned a contract after that, I was happy to see that. Then there's Corey Crawford going to New Jersey. So that one's an interesting one. He brings a lot of experience, obviously, but ruffled some feathers in terms of the relationship with Chicago, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But for him to move on, that one I was a little surprised about.
You could, speaking of teams that could change pretty significantly, how about the New Jersey Devils? Blackwood didn't have the best start to the season. Corey Schneider, couldn't catch a cold. And neither could Louis Domingue. So now, all of a sudden, Blackwood's really come into his own, and he's going to have great support in Corey Crawford, who was actually pretty good last season. PK Subban, who was notoriously injured, has had months and months to recover and make a podcast and post
He's
Instagram
been busy.
On he's let it. I mean, his back will be nice and loose for sure. It was a back injury. Plus all the little additions they made, Andreas Janssen and getting Ryan Murray. Like, the Devils are a team I think that could catch some people off guard because it's amazing what you can do with a couple good goalies.
Yeah. So that one is a tough one for Chicago fans, but if you're a Devils fan, you're thinking like that's experience, that's someone that can mentor a young goalie, just like Lundqvist going to Washington. Now, obviously, we're not going to see him on any H&M billboards in Toronto, which is a bummer. Like, would love to walk past that face. That's him right there.
This in Capitals colors, that's too weird, man. That's too weird.
But it's going to happen. So he's going to bring experience to Samsonov, who's basically going to be the Capitals' future. If you get to play and train and be alongside Lundqvist, who's got experience and he's a hard worker and he's got leadership, you're not losing, anything on that. Washington, he's not going to play as much, obviously, if Samsonov has a great season, but he can at least fight for some starter roles there. And so, we obviously knew this last week was going to happen. It did happen now since our last show. So what are your thoughts on Lundqvist kind of bringing some experience to Washington and, can't lose really?
Well, that's how I would look at it if I was Washington. I mean, at the end of the day, if he doesn't succeed, what do you need? You need a backup. And you can find those. You can find those on waivers. You can find them for cheap in free agency. You know, you've already conceded that you're going to be giving Samsonov a lot of the net. I'd be a little concerned for the New York Rangers because from a value standpoint, they probably did the right thing. Rather than trade you're not going to trade Shesterkin. So rather than trade Georgiev,
who's a Bulgarian, and I have Bulgarian heritage, so dobre utro to our Bulgarian viewers.
Yeah, same. I'd like Rusev in wrestling also.
Continue.
Tomorrow is Rusev Day, by the way. So rather than lose, Georgiev and then Lundqvist in a year, for example, they're going with the young tandem. But, you can't underestimate the value that having an older, more established, a Hall of Fame goalie like Henrik Lundqvist, you can't underestimate the value that brings to your team. And I just hope in their first season, sort of without a life jacket, these two young goalies are able to support each other and succeed. You would think they would. They have incredible talent, but you're losing Henrik Lundqvist, man. That's a heck of a shoulder to cry on if you're having a tough day trying to establish yourself in the NHL.
I certainly would not mind crying on that shoulder.
Neither would I. I actually have a little Georgiev story with the Bulgaria thing. So
okay, quick.
Very quick. So there was this KHL/NHL show that I did a few years ago called Joining the Rush. And there was a fan page run by this 15-year-old kid from Bulgaria. It was Alexander Georgiev.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. That was worth the 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. As we segue into one of the most outrageous, out of the blue moments from the weekend, I'm going to bring in a comment from Corey, who set this up perfectly. How is Taylor Hall not publicly laughed at for quoting he wants to win and then signing with the Buffalo Sabres? I can't figure out his logic. Can you? So where to begin? I have one friend who knows that is watching that loves the Buffalo Sabres. My best friend's boyfriend, Mitch, is still not recovered from this weekend. I texted them as soon as I found out about Taylor Hall, and it was just like word vomit, like shock and awe from an actual Buffalo Sabres fan. They do exist. I know one, Mitch, but I don't even, if you would have given me like money to bet, it would never have went on the Buffalo Sabres. So this weekend, this happening, obviously he's trying to bet on himself. We get that. That's clearly the case here, but he did say he wants to go somewhere where he can win. He said that. So it's just funny almost. It's kind of sad, but everyone's saying, oh, him and Eichel, like, put some respect on Buffalo. They're going to win this year. I'm like, oh my God, I don't think that's the case. Sorry to Mitch, but yeah.
I don't know.
Shocker.
If you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, all Taylor Hall does is screw you out of a lottery pick. Really. Well, I guess every team is in the lottery now. There he is on the Coyotes, a team he will never be remembered for playing for. I literally had to, for a second, I was like, what team is that? Oh, right. He was on the Arizona Coyotes for the hottest of minutes. I'm just surprised the producers were able to find goals for this pack. This is already more goals than I thought he scored with the Coyotes. And I'm not calling Taylor Hall a bad player.
It's the same goal from different angles, like mine.
From Hall's perspective, the logic makes sense. He 1 year, $8 million. He made a good point. He's like, I make $8 million to play hockey. Yeah. Like it's not a bad life. This was supposed to be his year to cash in, his summer to cash in the fall. Obviously COVID hit and it screwed a lot of people out of a lot of money. And he was one of them. So he's taken a 1 year bet on yourself thing. If I have a bounce back year from what I had last year, maybe teams will have more money as well. I'll have higher value. I can go out and get it. The logic is there. It all makes sense. There's a ton of ifs. And in terms of going somewhere to win, maybe we should have let him finish his sentence so that he could have said at the deadline, because there's no way the Sabres could make the playoffs. Stranger things have happened, but I doubt it. The worst thing that could possibly happen is he has a down year and the Sabres miss the playoffs by 1 to 5 points. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They need he needs to do well and they need to stink. That'd be the perfect scenario for him.
It would be.
Yeah.
Do you think so? I know you mentioned COVID being an issue. Obviously, not many teams had $8 million sitting around to give away to a 1-year deal. But, what is it that he said that, oh, I respect the coach. I see young elite talent in Buffalo. I see that the coach, can cultivate that talent. Great owners. He said all this stuff. And I was like, are we talking about Buffalo? We're still talking about Buffalo, right? So I don't know if he's been brainwashed or he's just trying to come in with a really good positive energy, but it's going to be quite interesting to see how this happens because we've seen players lose their love of hockey when they've played in Buffalo. So we're hoping that doesn't happen for Taylor Hall. Someone says, poor Mitch, my friend. Yeah, I know, I agree.
Oh, and Dwayne, the famous Buffalo caller who calls into the radio and loses his mind. Listen, Taylor Hall, former MVP, dirty liar. Both those things can be used to describe. I know he likes Ralph Kruger, so I do believe that's legitimate. Okay. But in terms of, listen, I'd compliment them too if they gave me $8 million. Put it that way.
All right. Last comment about this. Jeremy says Hall couldn't save Arizona and he won't save Buffalo. Well.
So, yeah, I agree with the Ailish.
What just happened?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness!
I just, it's like a kid getting lost at the mall.
I'm back.
I stayed there, and my parents came and got me. Hello, Ailish.
I'm sweating. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I was off the chat, and I was alone in my apartment. I couldn't hear you. Okay. The producers are probably freaking. I'm so sorry, but we fixed it. I'm surprised that hasn't happened. It's been like 8 weeks of this, and we've had no technical difficulties. So. Ooh, all right. Anyway, yeah, Taylor Hall was watching and he sent something to my apartment to cut my power off. Okay. Quickly before we get into our drop the glove segment, we got to talk about Chicago quickly. What happened there? Jonathan Toews is not happy. The captain is pissed. He said he's never been told they're going through a rebuild. This is a shock to me. Completely different direction than we had expected. The players sound like they're blindsided. Are there any Blackhawk fans here that have any comments on this? Or, is a rebuild really necessary? What is happening? Are they in a rebuild or not? And is Toews just not cluing in that that's what they're doing?
Are the Blackhawks good?
They beat the Oilers.
Okay, so that's no. Which means they're rebuilding. I understand why competitive guys are like, gosh darn it. But he's got to be realistic about what they are. I was saying, listen, you got 3 really good players that a lot of teams would want. A little bit older, Stanley Cup experience. Why wouldn't you go out and explore the value of those guys? I understand the value in keeping Jonathan Toews, and he should be a lifelong Blackhawk and establish the culture and all that. But I mean, if Chicago was really serious about the rebuild thing, Jonathan Toews would be part of an entirely different conversation.
Okay, well they have Toews, Kane, Keith.
Oh, why'd you get him scoring on the Leafs?
They are a bit of an aging core, so maybe they need to do some big shake-up here and see what they can get from it, kind of like what the Rangers did, get rid of all your good players, get some young draft picks, get some talent, and then maybe you'll be good in a couple of years. But it's tough if you're a player to kind of own into that, well, we missed our window again type thing. So I'm sure there'll be more drama.
No one wants to play for a losing team, and I totally get that. But, okay. Can you name their 2 goalies? Because I couldn't before I just read it.
No.
Exactly. That's a bad way to be.
No, I can't.
It's
Malcolm Subban?
Malcolm Subban it looks like their backup.
Okay, I got one.
And Colin Delia.
No, that's not a real player.
It's apparently is.
Okay. Well,
yep. That's
sorry for Blackhawks fans. Oh, quick. Noah, Hawks fan here. Stan does not need to ask if they can rebuild, but needs to tell them what is happening. Okay, well.
I agree with that.
All
I
right.
agree with that 100%.
Let's leave it at that, Noah. Before we move on to Drop the Gloves, all of our new viewers that are watching, don't forget to subscribe. I know it's right there somewhere on your screen. It would help us remind you to watch us every week because nobody knows what day it is, and all of a sudden it's Wednesday, and here we are. So don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching, and keep talking in the chat. And now let's drop the gloves, Steve. I'm ready.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously it's much too early to be doing this, but we love to just bring the chaos. The season's over, the draft's over, the first couple days of free agency is over. So now we should just predict who's going to win the cup, obviously, because like what else is there to do for the next 7 months? Who knows? Hopefully not that long.
Oh my
We
God.
got, no, I can't. I can't do this for 7 months.
No.
Anyway, we'll just go play shinny every day. So right now, the current Stanley Cup odds have Colorado and Vegas tied to win the cup, which is, you know, a pretty good bet. Tampa right below them, then Boston, then that's the Philadelphia Flyers. Yep. That one kind of surprised me. You got the
same.
classic Penguins, Capitals, Blues, Leafs, and Stars. So that's your top 10 for Stanley Cup odds right now. I pretty much can agree with the top 3. And then, did I miss something about Philly? Like, I know that they had a good run there, but the 4th best odds to win the Stanley Cup, or 5th best odds to win the Stanley Cup is a bit shocking to me. I don't think I'd be putting my money on that.
I had them high heading into the bubble, but I think the odds makers aren't stupid. There's a reason they make a lot of money, and I think what they did is they looked at the 2 teams that made the Stanley Cup final, and they're like, okay, they have to be in there. Now, let's look at the top half of the NHL and realistically look at the biggest markets in there and then throw them into the top 10. And Philly's in there. I mean, the Leafs are on that list, too. Let's not pretend like that's not a little weird.
Hey, whatever. They're near the bottom of the list. Speaking of the bottom of that list, Dallas, Jordan agrees in the chat. Dallas gets no respect. I agree. They could have been a little bit higher. Like, what were they? I think 10th maybe or something on that list. But yeah, there they are. Thanks, producers. Like, they should be higher than the Leafs. They should be higher than Philadelphia. The Caps? Yeah. Like, switch these up. I wish we could just, like, move them on our screen and make our own list. But, okay. Yeah, Dallas isn't getting respect. Jordan, I agree.
I couldn't tell you who bloody plays for the Penguins after the offseason that they've had.
Kapanen, baby!
Who?
Kapanen? Does he play there?
Oh, yeah. Kapanen.
Never heard of him.
Their goalies are Tristan Jarry, and I don't know. And they don't have Jack Johnson anymore, so that's pretty dope.
Oh, bummer!
No, what? I don't understand what he has. I thought Jeff Gordon was a top 5 GM in this league. I really did. And then he goes out and he signs one of the worst regular NHL D-men.
No, we're not doing the Jack Johnson. No, we're not. I'll sign off of Zoom again.
Everyone, I'm telling all the toys in my room to relax. Relax.
Yeah. Those are your only friends. Drew Dog says Colorado wins the cup if their top guys aren't injured. I agree with you. That's what the odds say too, Drew Dog. So hopefully nobody gets injured. Fingers crossed. We got Steve Jameson. How is Vancouver not there? Did we not just have a conversation about Vancouver blowing it over the last weekend?
They're not there on account of they've done bad things. Wow, Ailish. I love it.
Sorry, I'm getting fired up now.
Sorry, she meant to say they're garbage. Sorry.
Yes, that's better. Drotzy says Crosby and Malkin play for the Pens. Oh, do they?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Very helpful. I agree with you. The Avalanche have been my odds-on favorites for a long time. As long as we're talking about defensemen and analytics, a trade-off of Nikita Zadorov for Devon Taves, that is real good for the Avs. And if I'm not mistaken, they still have a little bit of room to add. I thought on a cheap one-year deal, if he really wanted to go somewhere and win, I thought they could have got Taylor Hall, and then they'd have the most unstoppable second line in hockey, which is Taylor Hall, Nazem Kadri, and who cares? Oh my God, these guys, they have a potential cup-winning team, and they have $6.8 million in cap space left, and they still have their first rounder. Man, oh man, that is a
How many
really
computer screens do you have up there? Like, you just got stats printed out on paper or what?
3.
All I have is you. I don't have anything. I wish I had some extra screens. I could have these stats up here. Like, I'm just memorizing things.
I'm screen capping it and sending it to you later in our chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that after all this, we don't have this here, but Sabres are still 6th worst odds after getting Taylor Hall. I think they moved up like one little like bump on the rankings, and Red Wings just the worst. Like if you put $1 on the Red Wings to win the cup, you would be like a billionaire. So maybe that's a good like value pick if you have $1 to spare. And if 2021 is crazier than 2020 and the Red Wings win the cup, you would literally be a billionaire. You can buy Sportsnet.
Trading Thomas Greiss for Jimmy Howard in net that's 10 wins in the standings right there. So there's 20 points.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so
okay.
there's a win is what you're saying.
Here's my math. Greiss is good. Howard's awful. So there's that. And now you have a tandem of Greiss and Bernier. Bernier was actually pretty good last year. Like Detroit, they're still not good, but they're way, way better than they were.
Okay, so let's talk about value picks. So we weren't allowed to pick anybody in the top 10, obviously, because that's not value. And the producers put rules on us. But my pick, did you miss the Edmonton Oilers weren't in the top 10 of chances to win the Stanley Cup? Like, I don't know. I'm thinking that if you look at the way things have gone, Tampa gets annihilated and humiliated in the postseason and then wins the cup next year. So who's to say that the Edmonton Oilers can't do the same thing? Draisaitl wins every trophy on earth 2 weeks ago. McDavid, he had a full season to recover from his injury. Hopefully his COVID goes away. He's producing at incredible rates. How does it just not work out eventually? So if you had some money to put on the Oilers and they're a value pick, I don't know how you could go wrong. I mean, there's a couple things we could analyze that they're missing, but they're still a great hockey team.
They are. I don't know how they decided to run it back with their goaltending. Like,
I know.
How did you watch Mike Smith last year and go, for sure, here's $2 million, dude?
There's still goalies out there. You never know.
I guess.
Maybe we'll get Hutchinson.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, that guy won 2 playoff games. He won more than Mike Smith did.
Right, so that's not a bad idea. Okay, who's your value pick?
I know I'm a fool, but I'm at very least consistent. A team that we always say this is their time to take another step, and they always end up disappointing at some point. But the Carolina Hurricanes, just with their youth and their talent, I gotta believe, and with one of the best coaches in the NHL, and Rod Brindamore, I gotta believe they're ready to take another step. And I'm doing this with a bit of an asterisk. I am not convinced. No. Okay, I'm telling you why I'm picking them. Because they want to improve the one thing that they seem to think they need to improve the most. They've been in on every goalie rumor, and they've done nothing about it. Peter Mrazek, his name is always out there, still done nothing about it. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be one of the top teams in the East regardless. And then if they go out and get a true number one, because I think Mrazek and Reimer at this point in their careers are tandem goalies. If they go out and get a true number one, that's an easy Stanley Cup final appearance for them. And I'll throw in the same about the Colorado Avalanche.
Whoa. Relax, Steve. Okay, a couple quick comments from our viewers here. David Bertrand says Dark Horse New York Rangers. Well, we were just, praising them a little bit. I could see that, but I don't think they'll win the cup, but maybe, they'll get a little further than last year. And then Habs 16 says, how about Habs? So that's shocking that you would be a Habs fan. But honestly, before we were at the very beginning of the show, and if you logged in late, how dare you, but you also missed that Brandon Gallagher signed a 6-year, $6.5 million per year extension, and we had it live here in NHL Chatroom. But before that happened, we were kind of like, on the Habs, but I'm feeling like they could be a good value pick if you're into chaos. So maybe Habs 16 is into chaos. I don't know.
He's got to be. To cheer for a team that stress-inducing? Gotta be.
Okay, so well, Drop the Gloves always is a fun segment, and we love hearing your feedback, so keep it up. Thank you so much for chatting with us. Let's move on to my A-list. So this is an exciting one for me because it's rare that we get to talk about women's hockey, and obviously as a women's hockey player, I want to try to do that and change the conversation. So I want to add on my A-list, even though it's tough as a Canadian hockey player to praise an American hockey player with our intense rivalry, we have to talk about Megan Duggan, who just announced her retirement. We're all fighting for the same goal, so we can come together and praise our enemy. For those of you that don't follow women's hockey, well, here's a little bit of a history lesson. She won 3 NCAA championships in her 4 years at Wisconsin. That's pretty good. And she won the Patty Kazmaier, which, if you don't know, is the female version of the Hobie Baker, best player in college. She also won 7 world championships and captained Team USA to their first gold medal in the 2018 Winter Olympics, which was a tough one. It was their first one in 20 years. I don't love that. But you know what? She's done a lot for the game on the ice, but she's also done a lot for the game off the ice. She's, as a women's hockey player and as a woman athlete, you're kind of having to be an advocate most of the time. She was an instrumental voice in USA's potential boycott in 2017 when they threatened, to not play just to get equitable support and treatment, which, secured this landmark deal for USA Hockey. It's not easy to stand up to an establishment like USA Hockey. And as another athlete, I'm inspired by what they did on the other side of the border, and they're paving the way for future kids to play hockey. So she's also on the board of directors at USA Hockey, on the board of trustees in the Women in Sports Foundation, and was recently named to the NHL's Player Inclusion Committee, which is a huge step for females in the game of hockey. So, a hat off to Megan Duggan for an incredible career, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does continuing in hockey, because I'm sure we'll be hearing her name down the road.
Who does she remind you of on the Canadian team throughout history?
I mean, her accomplishments you can rank up against basically any Canadian legend, like a Poulin, like a Wickenheiser. But I think her as a person and as what she does off the ice, I would actually say Jillian Apps would be a really good comparison. They kind of came up at the same time, and I think that they're also married, so that's exciting.
I didn't know that.
A Canadian and American rivalry can end up in true love. So I would say that they have a similar, growth of hockey and care for the game. So
I have a little Jillian App story, and it involves me being really stupid, if you want. So at the Olympics in Vancouver, I was shooting a video for a company that makes shoes. We won't name them. And I was shooting it with Jennifer Botterill, Jana Hefford, and Jillian Apps. We had to.
Big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal. And we had to do. I was a goalie, and they were taking shots on me. We gave them these floor hockey sticks, no curve, they were just complete garbage. But it was more of a skit. So I'm flailing around and basically not even trying to make a save. I'm just trying to make a buffoon of myself. Then we do a second take where I'm in my head, I'm okay, I know we got good footage last time. This time I'm going to actually try. Ailish, I did worse. I did worse. And the last goal scored on me that sealed it. I was supposed to I had to keep them under 10 goals in a minute or something like that.
No way.
Jillian Apps roofs it with this child stick, no curve in it, backhand top corner. And you can see the look on my face where I'm just what do I got to do? She's a superhuman. So
you know where she learned that? Dartmouth College. Hey!
Of course. You love your Dartmouth.
Go Big Green, baby. Sorry,
oh, my God. How many schools did you go to? How smart are you?
I got 2 degrees.
2? I mean, you're doing a show with me. You can't be that smart.
Yeah, I know. They needed to raise our cumulative grade average here. Okay, what's your dang it, Steve, other than it being me and all my accomplishments?
Man, I've defended the logic behind it. But boy, the Taylor Hall signing, it's a dang it, because it doesn't have to be a misplay. It doesn't have to mean you did something stupid. But to say you want to win and then end up in Buffalo is a dang it in itself. But to be the belle of the ball, at least when it comes to forwards, to be the most sought after guy, former MVP, you hit unrestricted free agency and you get a year. I'm sorry. That is an enormous, colossal dang it. Now, he makes $8 million, but it's all relative. These guys aren't playing at the same table as us. If you only get a 1-year deal as Taylor Hall in free agency, that's a dang it.
Well, next year we get to go through this all over again.
Can't wait, and I'm sure he can't either.
So exciting. Whoa, it's exhausting, truly. All right. Well,
like as an injury-prone player too, 1 year. A little nerve-wracking.
Risky, yeah. He better blow it up this year, or it'll be a tough offseason for him again.
Really tough.
Anyway, sorry to my friend Mitch once again, who's just probably pulling his hair out listening to us. My one Buffalo Sabres fan. Okay, so, once again, folks, we can't thank you enough for watching. Please subscribe. We're here every week, the same time, same place, same energy and annoyance. You love it. In case you missed it, because you guys might have come on late, Habs signed Brendan Gallagher to a 6-year, $6.5 per year deal right at the top of the show. We were able to bring that to you live. So you never know what's going to happen if you log on to NHL Chatroom and get in the chat. So we might have breaking news every week. Can't promise that, but we'll try our best. We'll just make it up.
We're 50-50 at this point.
That's right. That's right. So there's a good chance, odds makers, that something exciting will happen live. And if not, you'll just get to hear Steve ramble. So,
which is great, right?
It's great. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a long one, so thanks for tuning in with us. And we will see you next week as well on NHL Chat Room. Bye for now.